Hello everyone, welcome to Narayana IAS Academy. My name is Shubham Sagar and today as always we'll be taking 5 news articles of Hindu and Indian Express combined of 24th August 2024. If we talk about the first article of the day, which is on Indian Express page number 21, Keeping an Empire Alive. Here we'll be talking about Vijayanagar Empire. Why is it in news? What has happened in Hampi? What is Mantapa or Mandapa? How many different kinds of Mantapas or Mandapas are there? And then we'll try to take a brief overview of Vijayanagar Empire as well. If we talk about the second article of the day, which is on Indian Express page number 19, here we'll try to establish a relationship between the events or the happenings which is happening in Tripura and Bangladesh floods. Is Tripura really responsible for Bangladesh floods or something else is going on there? If we talk about the third article of the day, which is on Hindu page number 6, here we'll talk about Road to 2047 for Indian agriculture. As our Honorable PM Sir has said that we want to become a developed country by 2047, but for that we have to increase our per capita GNI 6 times. What is this GNI, gross national income? How we can do that? How agriculture has to play a crucial role rather if you want to achieve that? We'll talk about this in this third article. If we talk about the fourth article of the day, which is on Hindu page number 8, not all insults can be ruled as offences under SC/ST Act. So here we'll try to understand what is this Scheduled Tribe or Scheduled Caste Prevention of Atrocities Act, when was it passed, and what is this whole ruling all about. If we talk about the last article of the day, which is on Indian Express page number 6, CAG reports subject to scrutiny of Parliament. We'll try to understand what is CAG, what does Comptroller and Auditor General stand for, and as is this a constitutional body, statutory body, quasi-judicial body? Why is it in news? What has happened? We'll try to understand all these things. Once we are done with these 5 articles, we'll solve 5 prelims practice question and 1 mains practice question, because as we have discussed earlier multiple times rather, that practice makes a man as well as a woman perfect. So let's get started. If we talk about the first article of the day, Keeping an Empire Alive. Now, Vijayanagar Empire is in news. Hampi is in news. There are certain areas which, when we talk about history per se or medieval history per se, we say that this is the love of UPSC. UPSC continuously asks questions from these areas. Vijayanagar Empire is one of them, and it is one of the most hotspot areas from where questions have been asked in the past. Just like Mongols, from Mongols, UPSC has asked questions in the last 2-3 years. So Vijayanagar Empire you cannot ignore. So let's delve deep into this particular article, what this article is all about, and then we'll also try to understand different terms which are attached in this article or attached to this particular article rather, that is Mandapas or Mantapas. So Krishna Dev Roy in UPSC 2016, a mains question related to Krishna Dev Roy, and here also in Vijayanagar Empire, the different dynasties, Sangam, Saluva, Tuluva, Ravidu dynasty, we should be knowing about these dynasties rather, and we should also be knowing Krishna Dev Roy belonged to which one of these 4 dynasties. So Krishna Dev Roy, king of Vijayanagar, was not only an accomplished scholar himself, but was also a great patron of learning and literature, and you have to discuss this. So what is the context? Why we are reading this particular article? So Hampi is filled with monuments and there is a particular Mantapa. See, understand this thing. UPSC has already asked a PYQ on Kalyana Mandapa. So there are different types of Mandapas, various different types of Mandapas. 3 major types we'll be discussing today. Plus, I will also suggest you to read one particular NCERT chapter from new NCERT, that is class 12, chapter 7. After you are done with this particular article, please open your NCERT, new NCERT, class 12, chapter 7, read that particular chapter because Vijayanagar Empire is very important. So Hampi is filled with some monuments, some are in, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but still, what is happening? There has been a collapse of Salu Mantapa at Virupaksha temple due to heavy rains, raised questions about neglect at the World Heritage Site. Now, a question for you. In the previous DNA video, I've seen there was one guy who answered all the questions, all the 6 questions which I asked. So please try to be like that student. And here there is a question for you, that Virupaksha temple is associated with which particular god? Similarly, Vitthal temple is associated with which particular god? If you know this, please post it in the comment section. So, collapse of Salu Mantapa. What is this Mantapa? We will understand it in just few moments from now. First of all, let's have a chronological look at Vijayanagar Empire. 1336, it was formed by Harihar and Bukka, 2 brothers. 1509 is particularly important because Krishna Dev Roy, he started ruling from this particular period till 1529. And this was the pinnacle, one of the what do you say, most known rulers, very popular ruler of Vijayanagara Empire is Krishnadev Roy, 1509 to 1529. Again, a question for you. You can answer it in the comment section. That Krishnadev Roy belonged to which of the four dynasties? 1565 Battle of Talikota. Vijayanagara Empire's power were severely compromised, although they will keep on ruling in certain areas till 1646. 1799, British Surveyor General Colin Mackenzie makes the first map of Hampi. And this Colin Mackenzie, he has been discussed in class 12 chapter 7 as well. So that's why I'm telling you again and again, go to new NCERT rather, read class 12 chapter 7. 1860s, more photographs were taken. 1796, Center sets up Hampi National Project. 1976 rather. And 1986, Hampi is UNESCO World Heritage Site. So please remember this. UNESCO World Heritage Sites, all the new sites which are being added, you have to keep a tab on that. And Hampi is especially important. Vijayanagara Empire is very important. So Mantapas, that is why we are reading this. Salu Mantapa, it has collapsed. So 3 different types of Mantapas we'll understand. See, it is Mantapas, it is also Mantap, or it is also Mandapa. And what it is? So it is a pavilion or hall. I will just show you one image. So this is one type of Mantapa or Mandapa. Not all Mandapas look like this. This is one type of Mantapa or Mandapa. So like I will tell you, Kalyana Mandapa, which has been asked earlier, which is a PYQ. So UPSC asks, in this, marriages happen. Sometimes even the gods, they are brought together and they are married. So Kalyana Mandapa, marriage ceremonies or other significant rituals. Pay attention to the bold words. Salu Mantapa, which is a shaded space for gathering, rituals or rest. Pay attention to the keywords here. Ranga Mandapa or Mantapa, performance and ritual or religious rather ceremonies. So pay attention or keep in mind these 3 different types of Mandapas or Mantapas. That would be enough. And which particular Mandapa is in use right now? Shalu Mandapa. So now, Vijayanagara Empire. We should know something about Vijayanagara Empire. Already we have seen a chronological description of Vijayanagara Empire. Harihar Bukka, 1336, capital Vijayanagar, Hampi. Located on which river? All these points are important from both pre as well as means perspective. Tungabhadra River. Again, a question for you. Tungabhadra River is a tributary of which major river of south? Is it Krishna? Is it Godavari? Is it like Kaveri? Which river it is? If you know it, please post it in the comment section. Dynasty, Sangam Dynasty, 1336 to 1485. Harihar and Bukka belong to this particular dynasty. Saluva Dynasty, 1485 to 1505. From here onwards, you have to be little wary. You have to be little attentive because it's not like till 1505 and then there is a, like Tuluva started from there. There is an overlapping period during like 1490 to 1505. In some areas, Saluva were ruling. In some areas, Tuluva were ruling. Same goes here. Aravalli dynasty you are seeing from 1570. But from 1540s onwards, you will see Aravalli dynasty ruling in certain parts and Tuluva dynasty ruling in other areas. Important part here, or important point here rather, Krishnadev Roy belonged to Tuluva dynasty. Pay attention and remember this particular point. So what is the conclusion here? We are talking about a collapse of a particular Mandapa and we need more community involvements. Environmental damages are happening. Humans are like people who are involved there. Sometimes they resist the conservation efforts which goes on. ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, which is there, they want to excavate more, to find more. So all these things calls for more community involvement in conservation efforts with concerns about environmental degradation and lack of local engagement. Hampi's conservation needs to consider the well-being of its local population and environment. And we need to bring together the local community if you want to survive the fragments, the remains of ever so pristine Hampi. If we talk about the second article of the day, and this article is very much in news right now. So many things are happening in Bangladesh. Government has changed in Bangladesh. So there are news reports coming from Bangladesh. Floods are happening there and they are like, Tripura is responsible for all the floods which is happening in Bangladesh. So we'll try to understand whether Tripura is actually responsible for the floods which are happening in Bangladesh or something else is going on there. What is the actual root cause for these floods which are happening in Bangladesh? And even Tripura is affected by it. So questions related to floods have been asked in UPSC mains and certain kind of questions have been asked in pre as well. So what is the context of this particular article? So Ministry of External Affairs, they have clarified that floods in eastern Bangladesh were not caused by the release of water from Dumbar Dam. Now understand this. There is a political connotation to this article. We will not go there. We'll try to understand the key terms which are there. Dumbar Dam, located on which river? That river is a tributary of which river? All these things are important. What is the basic purpose of this dam? hydroelectricity generation or irrigation, all these are important from UPSC perspective. So now, but before we do that, before we read about those points, we have to understand the context of this article as well. So nearly 1.8 million people. That means 1 million is equal to how many lakhs? If you know this, please post it in the comment section. Let me tell you also. 1 million is 10 lakh people. So 1.8 million is 18 lakh people across 43 upjillas. You don't have to remember this. We are just trying to understand the severity of the situation. In 6 districts of Bangladesh, out of these 6, 5 are bordering Tripura, the state, which is very small, but is having a it has lots of strategic significance for us when it comes to India-Bangladesh relationship. So pay attention to the map. Look at the map. Dambar Lake, and it is located on Gomti River, which is also known as Gumti River. So don't get confused. Gomti, they are all one and the same. So Dambar Dam, and here we're talking about Gumti River, which will connect further with the Meghna River. Now again a question for you. So Meghna River is in Bangladesh. Ganga and Brahmaputra, they also flow to Bangladesh, and they are named differently. Which river is known as Padma in Bangladesh, whether it is Ganga or Brahmaputra? Which river is known as Jamuna in Bangladesh, whether it is Ganga or Brahmaputra? If you know this, again, post it in the comment section, just like one guy did in the previous DNA video. That is actually very good for you also, and that will help you in retaining facts. So Dambar Dam, situated on the Gumti River. Go back again. Gumti or Gomti River is the one and the same, which is the most significant river in Tripura. Gomti River is formed by mixing of or coming together of two rivers, Raima and Sarma. Raima is also an actress, Bengali actress, so you can remember like this, Raima and Sarma. Whatever floats your boat, whatever way you can remember the name. Gomti River, Raima plus Sharma. Gomti River eventually crosses into Bangladesh, where it merges with Meghna River, and Meghna River also has originated from Barak River. And Barak River, like the origin point of Barak River, if I'm not wrong, is Manipur state of India. So these are again facts which we need to keep in mind from exam perspective. Primary purpose of Dambar Dam is hydroelectric power generation, and for that we have Gumti hydroelectric project, which is the only hydroelectric power project in Tripura. Remember the keyword here, only. Tripura has only one hydroelectric power project, that is known as Gumti hydroelectric project, which is on this particular Dambar Dam. So there are so many terms. This particular slide is very important from exam perspective. You cannot ignore any fact which is given here. So more about the news now. So following heavy rainfall in Tripura from August 19 onwards, unsubstantiated social media claims suggested that floodgates of this Gumti hydroelectric power projects are open, and the Bangladeshi accounts were saying that now since Sheikh Hasina is not there, Indian government is not liking the current Bangladeshi government, and there is an Indian conspiracy against post-Hasina rulers. Then we have to conclude. What is the actual reality? Tripura's Power Minister Ratan Lal Nath, he clarified that no floodgates were opened. On Thursday, Ministry of External Affairs, S. Jaishankar, he reiterated that the claims about the Dambar Dam's floodgates were being opened is false, just like what Tripura Power Minister said earlier. The statement emphasized that the heavy rains in the catchment areas of Gomti River were the primary cause of the floods in Bangladesh. There are so many rivers in Tripura which are overflowing now, and this is the upstream area, and the water is going to the downstream regions of Bangladesh. So we are not responsible. We are even bearing the brunt. So Bangladesh cannot say that Tripura is responsible for the floods which is happening there. We have not opened any floodgate. It's just that heavy rainfall is happening and several rivers in Tripura are overflowing. And that is what is causing some amount of flood. That can cause some amount of flood in Bangladesh. But this is a natural cause involved here. We are not, India is not responsible for Bangladesh for floods. If you have to blame someone, you can blame nature, and Bangladesh needs to better manage all these areas which are like the downstream areas, and then only they can mitigate the impact of all the floods which are going on there. If we talk about the third article of the day, the road to 2047 for Indian agriculture, as we have discussed it in the previous DNA, India, and as has been reiterated multiple times by our Honorable PM Sir Narendra Modi Sir, that India wants to become a developed country by 2047. And if you want to become developed country, we have to focus on Indian agriculture, because more than 40-45% of our population is directly or indirectly involved in agriculture. And according to this article, if we want to become a developed country by 2047, we have to increase our per capita GNI, gross national income, by 6 times. So we need to do something. And what we need to do to, improve the quality, quantity, all these things, qualitative and quantitative aspects of Indian agriculture, that has been discussed in this particular article. previous year questions related to agriculture, conservation agriculture has been asked, and they will be asked in future as well. So what is the context? India aspires to attain the status of a developed nation by 2047, a goal that requires a significant boost in per capita gross national income. And how much boost? Nearly six-fold from current level. Let's say currently India's per capita income is 1,20,000, and that is hovering around this figure only. So we need to reach to 7,20,000 per year. Then only we can, and this is the average. That means average per capita income of our country should hover around 7,20,000. Then only India can aspire to become a developed nation by 2047. And to achieve this goal, which is actually a very big goal, we have to do certain things. Achieving this vision hinges on the transformation of agricultural sector, which is crucial for driving overall development. So what are the challenges faced by Indian agriculture? Economic imbalance. Pay attention to these data. These data are important because questions can be asked in pre as well as mains. You can use these points in your mains answer, and these points can be used to frame a UPSC pre question. So despite 46% of the workforce being engaged in agriculture, how much it is contributing? Only 18% of GDP. So there is a disparity, and that needs focus attention. Productivity and income. Agriculture's real gross value added. So the amount of things which are getting produced in agriculture is growing 6.1% annually. But how much you are contributing to and how much GDP growth is happening? Agricultural GDP growth, that is not happening much. That means the values, the products which we are producing, the goods which we are producing in agriculture sector, their demand or their value is less, contributing to lesser agricultural GDP growth. Other factors can be there. We are just trying to understand why this is happening. Real per capita income increased by 41% during 2012 to 2022. And here we are talking about the agriculture arena. But this growth is expected to decelerate, raising concern. So again, we need to focus that whatever average agriculture income is coming, real per capita income, that has to keep on increasing, right? Population pressure. India is projected to reach 1.5 billion by 2030, 1.59 billion. Whether we have enough food for them? Meeting the food requirements of this growing population with current agricultural efficiency level will be challenging. The per capita food grain availability has remained stagnant. It has not increased, it is stagnant, with concerns over agriculture GDP growth rate of only 0.7%. So we need more food for our ever-growing population. And what are the key government initiatives? Because it's not like, now, if we are knowing about these facts, if the article is talking about these facts are not totally insulated from government. Government also knows about much of these facts, if not all. So government is doing something. PM Kisan scheme has been launched. Apart from all these schemes which we know earlier, Pradhan Mantri Kisi Sinchai Yojana. All these schemes are important from exam perspective. When was it launched? If I'm not wrong, it was launched in 2015. Why it was launched? Because there is one type of irrigation which is very famous in our country, which is known as flood irrigation, which you have seen in, you may have seen even in your village. Like people just flood their particular land, and that leads to enormous wastage of water resource. So Krishi Sinchai Yojana promotes micro irrigation, drip irrigation, so that you don't, and it also promotes precision agriculture. Use only that much amount of water which you need, actually, which your crop actually need. That much amount of chemicals or fertilizer or pesticide which your crop actually need. That is precision agriculture. So PMKSY promotes precision agriculture. And government has allocated a lot of money, like 93,068 crore. Again, these points you can forget the actual numbers. Just remember the launch here. What is the basic purpose behind it? Precision agriculture, what does it mean? Using only that much amount of water, chemicals, pesticide, fertilizer, which is actually needed by your crop. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. See, in our country, when you read food processing, which is there in your GS paper 3 syllabus, you must have heard about terms like forward and backward linkages, food wastage. So to promote, to give food insurance to the agriculture, so the vulnerable section of our population, because 86% of farmers in our country belong to small and marginal category who have less than 2 hectares of land. So they are very vulnerable. To protect them from all these post-harvest losses, pre-harvest losses, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana has been launched. And 49.5 crore farmers are enrolled with claims totaling over 1.45 lakh crore. Apart from that, ENAM. So earlier you went to mandi, you are a farmer, you went to your local mandi, and whatever price they were willing to pay, you sold it to them, to your produce. But now farmers have options. All, like most of the agricultural mandis, which are scattered in different states of our country, they are connected via an initiative called ENAM. Now demand and supply comes into picture. Whichever mandi in whichever state, they give you the highest price, you will sell your produce to them. So ENAM, launched in 2016, integrates existing agriculture markets to an electronic platform. By September 2023, again, the numbers are not important, but you are seeing so many things are being done so that agricultural productivity could be enhanced, the vulnerability of Indian farmers could be reduced, and we become a developed country by 2047. So, strategic planning for future. What do we need to do more? Promote sustainable practices. Prioritize precision farming. We have talked about it. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana is a step towards promoting precision farming, GM crops, genetically modified crops, advanced irrigation techniques, addressing rising demand. So for that, we need to improve agricultural productivity. For that, Krishi Vigyan Kendra can play an important role. Implement technological interventions. Government should continue to modernize agriculture through initiatives like Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Similarly, there is something known as Agricultural Accelerator Fund. So the people who are involved in agriculture and allied activities, if you want to start a startup, then you will be provided fund from something known as Agricultural Accelerator Fund. So encourage sustainable reforms. Government should redirect subsidies towards sustainable practices and foster innovation by supporting programs like Agricultural Accelerator Fund. If we talk about the fourth article of the day, SC/ST Act, Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. And then there was an amendment to this act in 2018, if I'm not wrong. So sometimes, most of the time, it is being used in a manner in which it should be used. Sometimes it is used or misused rather. So we'll try to understand this particular case, what this case is all about, whether in this particular case, this SC/ST Act has been used or misused. So previous year questions related to two major legal initiatives by states since independence rather, addressing discrimination against scheduled tribes. They have been asked. And we should be ready for these kind of questions. So what is the context of this article? Supreme Court held in a judgment that not all insults or similar kind of comments aimed at a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe person would be an offence under the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Let me simplify it further. So let's say you are a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe person. I told something bad to you, but I'm not telling anything bad about your community. So according to this judgment, Supreme Court is saying that not all comments will be taken inside this SC/ST Act. If I'm commenting something about your SC/ST community that they are bad or you are bad because of your community, in that scenario, it will be taken inside the insulting comments under this particular act. Hope I'm making some sense. Once we are done this particular article, this case, this thing will be much more clearer to you. So what is the news? Judgment was delivered by a bench which interpreted the law while granting anticipatory bail to Sajjan Sakaria. You can forget everything. Just understand the basic concept. Not all insults or comment against a SC/ST person will come under this act. If I am saying something bad, which is also targeting your particular community, which is an SC/ST community, then that particular comment will come under SC/ST Act 1989. So this Sajjan Sakaria is the editor and publisher of YouTube channel Marunathan Malayali. So maybe the channel views and subscribers will increase after this particular news. But that was not the basic context why we are reading this. Sakaria was accused of uploading a derogatory video against P.V. Sinjan, who is an MLA, member of Legislative Assembly from Kerala, who is a member of Scheduled Caste. So he said he uploaded a video where there was certain not so good comment. But according to the judgment, this comment is about him. It's not about his community. It's not targeting his community. So the court emphasized that for an act to be considered as an offence under SC/ST Act, the insult or intimidation must be directly linked to the victim's caste identity, which was not happening in this case according to Supreme Court. Merely being aware that the victim belongs to SC/ST community is not enough to invoke the provisions of the Act. The insult must be specifically intended to humiliate the person because of their caste status. Again, we have reiterated it earlier also. The court explained that the SC/ST Act would apply if the aggression or insult was based on caste identity and aimed to reinforce discriminatory practices like untouchability or caste superiority. That you cannot eat with us because we belong to a higher caste and you are SC/ST. These kind of comments are comments which can come under SC/ST Act 1989 because I'm involving your caste and community. I'm trying to promote caste superiority. So Supreme Court concluded that in Sakaria's case, there was no evidence to suggest that his actions were motivated by the caste identity of the complainant or aimed at inciting hatred against SC/ST community. By this logic, if I say something against you and you always use your SC/ST card, then we can never comment anything against anyone, right? So you cannot use this SC/ST community thing all the time. What the court is saying that if I'm saying something which in a way is targeting your community, or the previous one, untouchability or the caste superiority is being imposed via my comments, then those comments can come under SC/ST Act 1989. So SC/ST Act, Prevention of Atrocities, like 1989, it aims to prevent offences of atrocities against members of SC and ST by individuals who are not from these communities. Let's say I am an SC/ST and I am saying something to you who you are also an SC/ST, then that will not come under this act. It specifies punishment for crimes committed against SC and STs and authorizes the central government to establish rules to enforce its provisions. It prescribes a minimum. Again, you don't need to remember all these points. Just remember, like for these things, most of these or all of these acts are cognizable. That means if you are being booked under SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, police do not need to produce a warrant to arrest you. You can be arrested without a warrant. That is a cognizable offence. And most, if not all of these acts which are under SC/ST Act 1989 are cognizable offence. So minimum punishment of 6 months with a maximum being 5 years and a fine for most offence. Certain cases, the minimum punishment can be increased to 1 year and maximum can be death penalty. Implementation is carried out by state government and union territory administrations. Again, the core part, cognizable offence, what is it? What was happening in this case and why this case is actually very important. The Act does not, now here, these offences are also important. Act does not apply to crimes committed between SC and ST within these communities. I am an SC, you are an SC, we are fighting, then this Act cannot be invoked. It lists 37 offences that cover behaviours leading to criminal acts that undermine the dignity and self-esteem of SC and ST individuals. These offences include denial of economic, democratic and social rights. This part is important. If you are an SC or ST and you are talking with another SC or ST, this particular Act cannot be invoked. Special courts have been established. The Act mandated the establishment of special courts to ensure swift justice, and they are required to conduct trial on a day-to-day basis so that we don't have too much pendencies. For each special court, the state government must appoint a special public prosecutor or designate an advocate with at least 7 years of experience to handle these cases. Even if you forget these things, the core part, who like member of the same SC/ST community cannot be part of it. When was this originally passed, this Act 1989? What is a cognizable offence? What this particular case is saying, all these things you have to keep in mind. Amendment to the Act was done in 2018, which added Section 18A. What is the significance of this particular section? As per the section, a preliminary inquiry is not needed to register an FIR against any individual. We have already seen, if you are booked under this Act, no warrant is needed because it is a cognizable offence. Police can arrest you without any warrant. Additionally, the provision for pre-arrest bail under Section 438 of CRPC does not apply. That means sometimes you must have seen any leader who is going to jail. Before even going to jail, he will get a bail. These kind of pre-arrest bail is not allowed if you are booked under this Act, regardless of any court judgment, order or directive. If we talk about the last article of the day, CAG reports subject to scrutiny of Parliament. The important keywords here, CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General. Whether it is a constitutional body, statutory body, quasi-judicial body, which kind of body is it? If it is a constitutional body, which articles of constitution cover CAG? What is this particular news all about? All these things we have to understand via this particular article. So it means here, when you're reading this article, you will read one particular term, Public Accounts Committee. Questions on Public Accounts Committee, CAG, etc. has been asked in the past, right? So what is the context here? Supreme Court squashed charges against a Karnataka-based firm accused of illegally selling coal rejects, stating that CBI's investigation was improperly based on unapproved CAG report. Let me explain it. So there was a CAG report which was passed based on this case. But according to this judgment, they are saying that no, this report which CAG published, it has to be first scrutinized by Parliament, reviewed by Public Accounts Committee, and then only once the review has been done, then only this report could be used for some other work or could be used by agencies like CBI or organizations like CBI or institutions like CBI, which was not done in this case because without this CAG report being reviewed by Public Accounts Committee, CBI investigated the whole case. So CAG is, or Supreme Court is saying that no, all the charges which was against this Karnataka-based firm, that is, we are quashing it. So hope you understood this thing. If CAG is presenting a report, that has to be reviewed by PAC, and only then institutions like CBI can use it. Since the report in question had not undergone this particularly parliamentary scrutiny, it could not justify the criminal charges against the firm. Now let's talk about CAG. So Comptroller and Auditor General, Article 148 to 151. So 148, 49, 150, 51, all these talk about certain things. Some will talk about the tenure, some will talk about what are the jurisdiction or what are the areas which come under CAG. So CAG is the head of Indian Audit and Accounts Department responsible for auditing the accounts of central and state governments. So many people feel like Comptroller and Auditor General, CAG. More than the Comptroller part, they are doing the auditing part more. So it's more than CAG, it's just AG, Auditor General. But again, we can always debate that. As a chief guardian of the public purse, the CAG ensures that what is the basic purpose? Whatever money, whatever public funds government is getting, they are being used efficiently and for the intended purposes. So now, different constitutional provisions, 148 to 151. Even if you remember, means forget all the points which we are discussing in this article. Important point is, CAG is a constitutional body. Important point is, different articles. Article 148 to 151 deals with CAG. Even if you forget all these 4 articles, just remember 148. It provides for the appointment, oath and conditions of services of CAG. And they have to have independence and security of tenure. 149, duties and powers. 150 requires that accounts of union and states be maintained in a format prescribed by the president on the advices of CAG. 151, procedure for submitting CAG's audit report. And this whole news was because of this article 151. CAG report has to be reviewed by Public Accounts Committee. Only then it can be used by agencies or organizations like CBI. That was the whole thing which was going on in that particular case. Functions and power of CAG. CAG derives its audit mandate from the Constitution, Articles 148 to 151. Then there is an Act which was passed in 1971. Comptroller and Auditor General's Duties, Power and Conditions of Service Act, judicial rulings and different government instructions. Key functions, auditing government accounts. We have seen this when we were also reading 148 to 151. Auditing public sector entities, the PSUs, public sector undertakings also like NTPC, etc. Their accounts can also be audited by CAG. Advisory role. Advises President on the format for maintaining accounts of center and states. Not only center but also states. Ensuring uniformity and transparency. Reporting to legislature. CAG submit audit reports on union account to the president and state accounts to the governor, who present them to parliament and state legislature, and then inside parliament, Public Account Committee review that particular report. And once they have reviewed it, as we have discussed multiple times earlier, then only it can be used by organizations like CBI as mandated by the recent Supreme Court judgment. We are done with 5 articles. Now let's solve 5 prelims practice questions. And I have said this in the previous DNA videos also. Once you are done with these 5 prelims questions, before seeing one means practice question, post your marks in the comment section. Post how many questions you got correct out of 5. 3 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 1 out of 5, 0 out of 5. Even then post. Develop it as a habit. That will help you in the long run. So let's start. First question in front of you. Don't worry about the length of the question. Just try to eliminate option. Option elimination should be your go-to area when you're solving practice questions, especially related to UPSC. So correctly reflects the challenges faced by Indian agriculture. Employs 46%, contributes 18%. Looks like a good statement, a correct statement. So eliminate options not involving 1. Real gross value added has grown by 6.1% annually. Yet the agriculture growth rate, again we have seen this was again a correct statement. Indian population expected to stabilize with per capita food grain availability increasing, not increasing. We were crying when we were reading this article that it has stagnated. So this part is wrong. The second part of this third statement is wrong, and that's why third statement is wrong. And the answer is A, 1 and 2 only. Tricky question. Even if you're getting it wrong, don't worry about it. If you have got this particular question correct, you can again post in the comment section that my first question number 1 was correct. And you should give yourself a tap on the back. Question number 2. Which of the following statement about ENAM is correct? Is or are correct? Launched in 2016, looks correct. By September 2023, these many. And mandis have been connected. Factual information, even if you're getting it wrong, don't worry. Primary aim is not to provide subsidies. This is totally wrong. That is not the aim. Their aim is to connect markets, mandis. So third is wrong. Even if you have not known anything about first and second statement, you would have got this question correct. Just before thinking that, oh my God, so many factual information is given in the statement 2, read all 3 statements. You will realize, oh my God, even if I had not known 1 and 2, I would have got this question correct. Third question. Dumbar Dam is situated on Raima River. Gumti River, after flowing through Tripura, merges with Meghna River. Primary purpose of Dumbar Dam is irrigation only. No, not irrigation. Hydroelectric power generation. So third, eliminate third. You're left with 1 only, 2 only. Dumbar Dam is not situated on Raima River. It is on Gumti River. So first is wrong. Answer is B, 2 only. Again, a tricky question. But this question you can, unlike other questions where if you knew a first statement or one statement, you were getting the answer. Here, this was a little tricky. More tricky, but still doable. And even if you're getting 0 out of 5, please post in the comment section. So fourth question, SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act. All offences under the Act are considered cognizable. Preliminary inquiry is not needed for filing FIR. Act does not apply to crimes committed between SC and ST. We know this is correct. So third has to be there. All offences are cognizable. That means police do not need a warrant to arrest you. That is also correct. So first, third correct. Second is also correct. The answer is D, 1, 2 and 3. All the statements are there. You can have a look at this particular article which we have discussed. Fifth question. But again, the question was tough. Even if you've gotten it wrong, that particular fourth question, don't worry about it. Which of the following is not a function of CAG? Pay attention to article 148 to 151. Try to remember which were correct, which were functions. Then you can eliminate not function. Auditing all expenditures, advising president on the format of the accounts in which the accounts have to be maintained, conducting performance audits of government schemes and programs, allocating financial resource and grant in acts to states under the recommendation of Finance Commission. This is not their function. This is the function of Finance Commission. D is wrong. And they're asking not. Sometimes UPSC will highlight this not. Sometimes they will not highlight this not. So here they have not highlighted and people get this. Sometimes they get this wrong because they're reading so fast. So the answer here is D. Now, means practice question. Discuss the significance of mantapas in the architectural and cultural landscape of Hampi. In the light of recent collapse of Salu Mantapa, critically analyze the challenges. So here you can talk about Hampi, UNESCO World Heritage Site, earlier like Vijayanagara Empire's capital it was, all these things. And then once you're done with the intro part, body you can talk about significance of mandapas they're talking. Cultural landscape, architectural significance. What is the architectural significance? They have elaborate pillars, carvings. If possible, you can also make a diagram here. Then you can talk about different kind of mandapas. Salu Mandapa, Kalyana Mandapa, and then Ranga Mandapa. What were their functions? What were their uses? For which particular purpose they were used? We have discussed this. We have discussed these three types of mandapas. Then cultural significance. They were not only architectural marvels, they hosted religious discourses, music and dance performance. It is believed that it was in Vijayanagara Empire, not one particular religion was favored according to the travelers who came. Barbosa, Nunes, Domingo Paez. All these people said that people from all religions were welcomed and religious discourses, etc. were happening in these mandapas. Challenges. What are the challenges? Environmental factors. Vulnerable to natural elements such as heavy rains, then human neglect. Despite being a World Heritage Site, Hampi has faced issues related to neglect and inadequate maintenance. Sometimes ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, they want to excavate a particular place in Hampi. Locals are not very happy about it. So all these things are happening. And the solution is to involve community of Hampi or nearby Hampi areas as a whole. So role of community involvement and sustainable conservation. Engaging local community in conservation efforts can be beneficial as they possess traditional knowledge and skills that can contribute to the preservation of these structures. Sometimes these structures require specific amount of knowledge, like specific technical knowledge, which is not known to people outside of those areas. So involving local community is need of the hour when it comes to preserving heritage site like UNESCO. So again, you can talk about all these things in conclusion also. Multifaceted approaches are involved or needed rather, and ASI should involve local communities. By addressing the environmental, human and institutional factors that threaten the structures, it is possible to safeguard Hampi's legacy while also supporting the local community and environment. So that's it for today's DNA video. If you like the video, do like, share and subscribe. Please post your marks in the comment section. Out of 5 prelims questions, how many questions you got correct? So take care, be blessed, see you soon.